the CTA in a few places and visit all the loop stops. That's an Orange Line train from Midway Airport. Goes clockwise around the loop and returns to Midway Airport. It's got a fleet of Bud-built cars that were rebuilt by Alstom. This is the LaSalle Van Buren station. Serves the Orange Line, the Pink Line, and the Purple Line. The Purple Line is primarily rush hour only through the loop. This is where the Metro LaSalle Street station is. The loop is legendary in Chicago. Elevated L trains, well, that's why they call them L trains. Elevated tracks right through downtown. King Kong hasn't found this one yet. CTA is made up of 4 different types of cars. 2000 series are Bud built and rebuilt by Alstom. The 3000 series are pretty much made by Morse Knudsen. Then you have the 5000s that were built by Bombardier, and then the newest ones are CRRC built. I think they're on the 7000s. Well, here comes a Brown Line train that's bound for Kimball, Ravenswood on the northwest part of town. Those are Bombardier built cars. I'm sorry, Morris Knudsen built cars. The Brown Line trains run counterclockwise around the loop. Well, here comes another Orange Line train from Midway Airport. It'll circle the loop clockwise and return to Midway Airport. Notice that the third rail is completely exposed. There's no wood covering or fiberglass covering. Makes me wonder how this thing would operate when there's like 2 feet of snow here in the wintertime. Well, here comes a Pink Line train bound for 54th and Cermak. The Pink Line is a relatively new routing that was established. And part of the route is an old non-revenue elevated structure that used to pass the Chicago Stadium and now the United Express Arena. These are Bombardier built cars. He'll make a right turn up ahead, and then he'll make a left turn at the Diamond, and then head west on the Lake Street L, shared by Green Line trains to Oak Park. Here comes another Orange Line train from Midway Airport. Orange Line is probably one of the more interesting CTA routes to ride because it parallels railroads a good portion of the way. All trains that use the loop, except for the green line, use the loop as a midpoint where they just go around in a circle and go back to their starting points. So they're like continuous rides from the origination point to the termination point. Well, approaching is a pink line train. If you folks want to ride on the CTA lines, all you have to do is sit down in your living room and turn on YouTube. All the lines are featured with front end views. They're terrific. Oh yes, a lot of the cars are shrink wrapped with some nice advertising. Adds a little spice. Okay, we're at the next stop, the Harold Washington Library, a major transfer point. That brown line train is making a left turn, continuing on his counterclockwise navigation of the loop. An orange line train from Midway. More buds. Stuck behind traffic. They run on pretty close headways up here sometimes. As I said, this is a major transfer point. The orange line goes to and from Midway Airport. The purple line runs down through here rush hours only. That comes down from Evanston, way up north. The pink line we already talked about, the 54th and Cermak. The red line runs from 95th Street, Dan Ryan, up to Howard Street under State Street in downtown. And the blue line runs under Dearborn. That runs out to O'Hare Airport. Some of these stations are very close together. If you're a really good spitter, you can definitely spit from one station to another. Now here comes a Kimball-bound brown line train. Love those door warnings. It almost sounds like Avon is calling. We're looking south down Dearborn Street. That structure in the background with the clock tower, that's the old Dearborn station. where Grand Trunk and Monon and Santa Fe passenger trains, as well as Erie Lackawanna trains, departed from. Now it's some kind of a shopping center of sorts. And here's a Pink Line train about to pull out of the station at Harold Washington Library. Stop at Adams and Wabash. We're going to make a sharp left turn here. Join up with the Green Line.
Transfer to orange and green trains at Adams and Wabash.
To have elevated lines in Manhattan like this, but they tore them down. Well, King Kong didn't help. Line train to Kimball at the Adams and Wabash station. Well, we have a Green Line train pulling out bound for the south end of Chicago, and we have another Green Line train arriving. He's heading out to Oak Park. That's a set of Bombardier cars on that. Here comes a train, Orange Line, bound for Midway Airport. Comes a Green Line train to the south end of town. A set of Bombardier cars bound for Cottage Grove. Green Line is the only elevated line that does not navigate the loop. It does half a loop. All these L stations are made of steel and wood. Platforms are all wood. No smoking allowed on these platforms, that's for sure. The whole thing would go up. So here comes a Pink Line train for Cermak. Pink Line, Brown Line, and Green Line trains are the only lines that serve this station, depending on the direction. Green line for Oak Park with a set of Bombardiers. Now if you stand on this platform, you're served by Brown Line and Green Line trains. But if you stand on the other platform, you're served by Green Line, Pink Line, and Orange Line trains. Here comes a Brown Line train for Kimball and Adams Wabash. Purple Line. Right behind is a Green Line train. Goes to Ashland and 63rd. Note the third rail shoe. Fully exposed. Love those advertisements. Almost makes them look like heritage units. Midway Airport bound. Get a lot of choices on that side, not too many on this side. next station along, Washington and Wabash, served by Green and Brown Line trains on this side. Good stop to get off at if you want to have a pizza. Joe, you should be here. Here's a Green Line train for Cottage Grove, south of the city. Just made a right turn to get onto this structure here. In a way, I'm glad if it's going to rain, I'm glad it's raining today, because this was the day I wanted a rail fan, the CTA, and the station provides satisfactory shelter from the elements. This station has a design similar to the World Trade Center PATH station in New York City. Here we have a Midway Airport bound train arriving. One thing I've been very fortunate with on this trip, I haven't had to deal with any real hot and humid weather. Today is certainly not a problem with the heat. In fact, the weekend it's supposed to be in the 70s here. So it's going to start getting hot next week after I return home. God is great. Pink Line train coming in. I love this angle here, this setting. Did you ever see the movie King Kong? Remember the scene where the subway train got wrecked by King Kong? You see the subway coming down the track in a setting very similar to this. And the music is playing in the background. Beep, 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 making the train sound. Everybody's standing up in the subway car, reading newspapers, holding onto the strap. And then King Kong rips the trestle apart, and the train comes around a curve. The engineer throws on the brakes, and it slides off the trestle. And King Kong smashes the cars to bits, and he kills everybody. Oh. Be right out of the movie King Kong there, but happily those trains survived their trip without any interference from big loop. Alright, still at Washington and Wabash, after having a nice lunch at Paisano's on Madison Street, ready to continue our CTA tour today. To me, there are three distinct types of operation on the CTA. There's the loop operation, such as this. There's the median expressway operation, which we'll see later, and the four-track main elevated operation. We'll capture all three of those aspects. I guess a fourth option that I neglected to mention was the underground operation. Yeah, I don't get that as well.
State and Lake is next. Doors open on the right.
Okay, we're heading to the next stop at State and Lake. Around another curve. City, they had elevated lines in Manhattan, but they tore them down. People were complaining about the noise. There was even talk about tearing these down, but the residents of Chicago decided, no, it's a major tourist attraction in this city. That's a Brown Line train heading off to Kimball. That's where we are now, served by Green and Brown Line trains on this platform. Well, the other platform gets a better deal here. They get the orange, the green, the pink, and the purple. The purple starts running down here during the rush hours. Comes a Green Line train heading for Oak Park, Harlem Avenue. And here comes a Pink Line train to State and Lake. Negotiating his clockwise travels on the loop. Here you get a great view of the tracks turning west over Wabash. Going straight ahead down Lake Street toward the lake Yesterday I walked over there. They set up a whole bunch of vendor tents over there, I can see. Line to Midway Airport. Got a green line train for Harlem Avenue with some colorful cars on the point. And that green line train is heading due west. We're at Clark and Lake. And here's a brown line train to Kimball. He's going to be making a right turn here after he pulls out. It's a diamond crossing where the loop begins and ends at that spot. We got a Midway Airport Orange Line train coming at us. Like I said, he runs clockwise around a loop where the brown line is counterclockwise. Here comes a green line train heading to South Chicago. It's crossing over the diamond right now where the loop completes itself. He's heading for 63rd and Ashland Avenue. And here at Clark and Lake, amidst the noise pollution, I guess Hank Boyd is going to a call with Chicago PD. Here you can transfer to the Blue Line subway, which goes to Forest Park at one end and O'Hare Airport at the other. Here we have a Pink Line train. trying to get a train crossing in front of us over there. The only trains that would do that now would be the Brown Line trains, starting on their counterclockwise rotation around the loop. Rail fanning the New York City subway isn't anything like this. You have no downtown elevated structures. You don't have diamond crossings, trains going every which way at diamonds. It's a unique experience that makes the Chicago Transit Authority such a joy to watch. Okay, I got a Harlem Avenue bound Green Line train stopped alongside of me, and the signal at the diamond is red, so there might be a Brown Line train coming down from Kimball that will cross in front from right to left. It's like any number of these railroad diamonds that are all over the Chicago area. You can see a switch tower up there, but I don't think it's manned. There's the culprit. A Pink Line train has completed his rotation around the loop and is heading west in front of him. But there still might be a Brown Line train coming down that might prevent him from getting the signal. No, he's got a signal. Trip around the loop, we have to go up north to Mart and take another Brown Line train back down to the loop again. But you get a chance to see what the diamond looks like.
Doors open on the right and merchandise line. Your safety is important. If you observe unattended packages, vandalism, or suspicious activity, inform CTA personnel immediately.
Here it is, look at this. Subway system that has that. Chicago River. Get a load of this curve. station is Merchandise Mart, a well-known shopping institution in Chicago. As that brown line train heads north. Here to continue on the loop, I have to cross over the tracks here and take a inbound train on the brown line. Well, from the south end of the Merchandise Mart CTA platform, you get this stunning view of the Chicago riverfront. One thing I never mentioned about the loop, it wasn't just Chicago Transit Authority that ran there. The Chicago North Shore and Milwaukee also ran down the loop from Milwaukee. They had a terminal on the south end of town on the loop. Well, here we have a train bound for the loop on the brown line. Watch them cross the Chicago River and pass between this canyon of buildings. Go straight ahead onto the loop.
Washington and Wells is next.
We'll admire the scenery and the diamond again.
And Wells. Transfer to Wellington line trains at Washington and Wells.
Stunning. Chicago River, the Riverwalk. Approaching the diamond, but we're going to go straight across this time. Looking south from Washington and Wells Street Station. Here we got an orange line train starting his rotation around the loop here. Well, the orange line is about almost halfway around the loop. One train we haven't seen on the loop so far is the purple line. That's a rush hour only operation. In the off hours, it runs between Howard Street Station to the north. It's a major CTA facility up to Linden Avenue in Evanston. But during rush hours, it runs from Linden Avenue all the way down to the loop and back. So we should see that train up further north. He's an express north of Belmont. Looking west on Madison Street. All the cross streets going east-west in this area are named after presidents. That orange line train will make a right turn up ahead and negotiate the second half of the loop. Here's a map of the CTA. We'll visit some of these locations. I basically want to concentrate in this area here. From like up this way, all the way to Howard Street is a 4-track main. This yellow line is a former North Shore Railroad right-of-way up to Skokie. And this is the purple line's off-hour route up to Linden. Here's another orange line train bound for Midway Airport. comes another Brown Line train starting its trek around the loop. And our last loop station that we'll visit, we've been to all of them, is Quincy. Then we'll cover a different part of the system. Of all the stations on the loop, this one is probably the most attractive. Has a nice coat of brown paint. Looking west down Jackson Boulevard, again, they're named after presidents. We're not too far from Union Station here. In this general vicinity, I'm not sure exactly where it was located, but I could hear L trains when I was staying there. Back in 1973 in the summer, I spent a week at the Midland Hotel. 6 nights for 85 bucks. How times have changed. Well, the hotel is gone. I mentioned how this station has got a nice coat of brown paint. Well, this track sees closest to me Brown Line trains, but the track on the other side sees orange and pink line trains, at least during the off hours. Maybe they should have painted the other side a combination of orange and pink. I might add a little purple. All right, heading to the station where I can connect to the red line, but we'll watch us round the very last curve on the loop. Station on the red line, one of the underground stations. The subway line goes under State Street. The majority of CTA is out in the open, but there are little stretches of subway operation. Looking north, I always got a kick out of the super long platform that's on this line. There are actually several stations that are connected by this platform, but they don't stop at the entire length of the platform. They skip parts of the platform between stations. The Red Line is one of the more important rapid transit lines in the city. It runs 24 hours. It runs between 95th Street and Dan Ryan and Howard Street. Down the stairs, it'll take you to the blue line, the Dearborn Street subway. That's the other subway that runs under the streets of Chicago. Runs between Forest Park and O'Hare. I think Boston was the first city to adopt a color scheme for their rapid transit lines, and others have followed suit. Well, here comes a Howard-bound train at Jackson. more Bombardier cars. We took the red line south to the first open station, Cermak Chinatown. Here we're right alongside Metro's Rock Island district. See that in the background. Looking north towards downtown, the Willis Tower is covered on top. Notice a switch here. The tracks on the extreme left and extreme right are the normal red line subway routing. Two tracks in the middle lead up to the elevated structure south of the loop. By the sound of it, I'd say Hank Voigt is working overtime again. Yeah, this area is Chicago's Chinatown. Here's a Howard-bound train. Down to the tunnel. The train was operated by a very friendly operator. She was pretty cool. You can see the tail end of an Orange Line train heading to town. And there's an Orange Line train heading out to the airport. On the other side of that train, he parallels the Metro Heritage Corridor. That's a Chicago to Joliet via Lamont and Willow Springs. We got a Rock Island train bound for Blue Island, picking up speed. Comes an inbound train from Joliet. MP36. I don't know, I like those things. They look weird, but they mean business. I love those GM prime movers on it. Well, the next station south at Sox-35th Street. This is where the White Sox baseball stadium is. Guaranteed Rate Field. I got a kick out of the names of some of these places. That replaced the old Comiskey Park, which many say should never have been torn down. It was an attractive looking stadium. You can see we're right in the middle of the Dan Ryan Expressway. This is part of what the Chicago Transit Authority does, running in the median of expressways. I don't think I'd want to walk across that. There it is to the west. Guaranteed Rate Field. White Sox are on the south side and the Cubs are on the north side. Previous owner of the White Sox was Charles Comiskey. He was a stingy guy, a cheapskate, many will say. Back in 1919, he didn't want to pay his good players the money they deserved, so they decided to get in with racketeers and bet against themselves and make money off of that, playing in the World Series against the Cincinnati Reds. The pitcher would throw the games and guys would strike out and miss fielding opportunities and everything. It was a real dirty situation, and a lot of players bought into that. One of them being Shoeless Joe Jackson. He was probably one of the greatest ball players. If he was in the major leagues, he would have been probably one of the best all time. But because he took involved in that, and along with other players, he got kicked out of baseball. Didn't play in the major leagues again. That expression, "say it ain't so, Joe," they're talking about Shoeless Joe Jackson's misfortunes. In a way, I can sympathize with them for wanting to do what they could, but it was crooked. But if their owner wasn't such a tightwad, they wouldn't have had to do it. Oh, the noise is deafening. I drove by here Sunday night coming in from the east. but the weather wasn't nearly as bad as an experience we had in the summer of '64 when we were driving by here. We came through here, it was raining so hard you'd swear somebody poured a gigantic bucket on top of our van, and we couldn't see anything. The thunder was deafening, the lightning was flashing all over the place. My father was scared to death, but somehow we got through it. That was part of a Western trip we were taking from New York out to, well, we wound up in Las Vegas. We would have gone to California, but my mother wanted to go home. It was too hot. But what a memorable trip that was, coming through here with that storm. I knew we were in trouble because when we got in Gary, Indiana, the sky was the darkest gray I ever saw. It was almost black, and it just let loose. Oh my God. Watch this guy scoot off to the north, eventually to Howard. Interesting building over there. I think it's some kind of a college. Okay, we're now at Fullerton on the north side of town. You saw the red line train that I was riding fading away, and coming this way, the purple line is starting to run down to the loop now. Beginning of the rush hour. As you can see, the weather is taking a turn for the worse again. And we're on a 4-track elevated structure now. The red line comes out of the tunnel and joins up with the brown and purple lines to form this high-density 4-track main. And we see a brown line train departing, heading for the loop, which is a little ways from here. The red line trains use the middle track, and the brown and purple use the outer tracks. Here comes an Evanston-bound purple line train. Pretty much a local up to Belmont, then he runs express to Wilson, and then express again to Howard. There's a loop-bound purple line train. Runs from Evanston via the loop back to Evanston, Linden Avenue to be exact. Avon, is she here? Comes a brown line train for Kimball, passing Cacciatore Stadium. Must be a Catholic school.
Purple line trains at Fullerton. This is a brown line train. This is Fullerton. Frankfurt's red and purple line trains at Fullerton.
There's a Howard Street red line with some more interesting shrink wrapping. Notice Brad Pitt and Bullet Train. Is that a new movie coming out? Colorful consist on the purple line. Ride with Pride. Cool looking. One station north to Diversey. This is a stop only for purple and brown line. The red line goes right on through. There's no station for it. There's another purple line train. Man, can you look at this? A 4-track elevated structure on the CTA. New York doesn't have anything like that. Well, the only 2 stations I know of that have 4 tracks on an elevated structure are Smith 9th in Brooklyn and the next stop, 4th Avenue. The Q train going down to Sheepshead Bay and Brighton Beach in Brooklyn from Prospect Park down to Brighton Beach, that's 4 tracks, but most of that is in a trench. Maybe 1 station is elevated, but New York has nothing even close to this at all. Here comes a Linden-bound Purple Line train. These are real speedsters, north of Belmont especially. Once those trains get north of Howard, they parallel Metra's North Line the rest of the way pretty much. That's the old Chicago Northwestern main line to Minneapolis, used by Metra trains to Waukegan and Kenosha, Wisconsin. Here comes a Dan Ryan bound red line train flying through here. That way. A thunderstorm, a CTA thunder and lightning. The red line train southbound. Awesome display of fireworks. Kimball-bound brown line with some more shrink wrapping. Oh, here's a loop-bound brown line train. Let's watch the sparks fly out of this guy. comes a Howard-bound Red Line train, the first one I've seen since I've been here. The next station north, Wellington. Again, it's a local stop for brown and purple line only. Okay, a loop-bound purple line train. Comes a Dan Ryan bound Red Line. Just pulled out of Belmont. Those shrink rack cars definitely add some variety to an otherwise boring consist of cars. Here comes a brown line train for Kimball. Once he gets through downtown, he'll be running along the very noisy Dan Ryan Expressway. I couldn't stand it there. It was deafening with the traffic. Ay, 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 ay. Then we have this purple line train loop bound, and we have another Howard Red Line train approaching. The purple line stopped running through here about a little after 7. To the next station north at the busy Belmont station. All trains stop here. Looking north at Belmont, note a interesting feat of engineering here. A rationalization of the junction was made where the brown line separates off from the purple and red lines. Prior to the flyover being built, there were a lot of conflicting delays between trains crossing over in front of each other. Now those have been eliminated. The brown line trains could come in and out of here unaffected by other trains. Because of the track reconfiguration, the purple line trains run on the middle tracks. But once they leave here, they switch over to the out of tracks. Here comes another purple line train coming down from Linden Avenue in Evanston. So here's a Linden-bound purple line train with an interesting consist. The Ride with Pride train. From here, the next stop for the Purple Line trains is Wilson, quite a few stops away. And then Howard, the last stop. Well, it's not the last stop, then becomes a local up to Linden. Kimball-bound Brown Line train. Let's watch him negotiate the flyover when he leaves here. That's a Howard-bound Red Line train. The next stop for him will be Addison, the home of Wrigley Field, the home of the Chicago Cubs. We're going to take a closer look at this junction and we'll take a look at Wrigley Field. This was normally an express stop for the Purple Line trains, but they're running on the middle tracks here. Okay, we're at Sheridan where there are sharp curves around here. Trains make every stop between Belmont and Howard. Here's a Linden-bound Purple Line train, which shouldn't be stopping here. But he is. Oh, I can't figure this out. It used to be an express through here. Oh, check that out. Retro cars painted in the old CTA scheme? Oh, actually, they don't stop here. That train that I saw that stopped that I thought was a Purple Line train was actually a Red Line train, and they're supposed to stop here. Well, this is definitely a Purple Line train going to Linden. Dan Ryan bound. They say it's drizzling in Chicago, but this looks like more than a drizzle. But it should stop soon, looking at the radar. I love curves on transit systems. Here we're further up the line at the Red Line station of Thorndale. The last station we passed was Bryn Mawr. All these stations seem to be named after SEPTA stations. An interesting thing is going on. Major reconstruction has been taking place on the joint Red Line and Purple Line. Many places there are only two tracks. There are only two tracks in service, and the Purple Line trains are running on the local track with the Red Line. But here, just south of Thorndale, the original 4-track right-of-way emerges once again, and should continue up to Howard. And the Purple Line trains are express on the outer tracks here. Here comes a Howard-bound train. southward is where the reconstruction starts. What's a 4-track main is dwindled down to a 2-track main. The 2 northbound tracks are on the left, and you can see it stops abruptly there by that crane. Well, here's a Purple Line train coming off the 2-track main and switching on to his express track. Hopefully you can enjoy some fast running to Howard, because they usually fly on this section of track normally. Oh, here comes a loop-bound Purple Line train, but he's got a stop signal ahead. Apparently a Red Line train is going to get priority over him. The Switches line, well no, they just straightened it. He should be getting a signal just a second. There he goes. Well, you got to give the Ride with Pride train the signal at all costs. Comes another Linden-bound Purple, switching onto the express track. We're now at Loyola Station on the 4-track main. Loop bound. This station is wacko. To go from the Howard bound side to the Center City bound side, you have to go downstairs from one platform and upstairs to this one. Yet the platform is wide enough to have both trains stop here. It's stupid. This is one Achilles heel I have with CTA so far. And we got a Dan Ryan train approaching Loyola. Race. You heard the whistles on that CTA train. I'm glad I didn't. Okay, we got a Howard train that stopped at the other end of the platform. This is the city-bound platform. I have to walk down the stairs and up the stairs to get a train up to Howard. It's crazy. They make good speed by the time they get up to me here. Here's a Dan Ryan train, train 921. I wonder how they get the numbers. remember from the movie The Pelham 123, Taking of the Pelham 123? Supposedly their symbol was based on their originating point and the time they leave there. Leaves Pelham at 1:23 p.m. Loopbound, Purple Line. Just got off that Howard-bound Red Line train at Morse. Hang out here for a little while and get some local and express traffic. There comes a Howard-bound train. Train 834. Hard seltzer. A Linden-bound Purple Line train, and here comes a loop-bound Purple Line train. We're at Jarvis, the last station before Howard. We're waiting for a signal. This train just left Howard, heading back down to Dan Ryan. We finally made it to Howard Street, site of a huge yard.
Please allow for longer than usual wait time.
Also have the beginning of this is the yellow line starts here, going up to Skokie. Made it to Howard Street. See the huge yard here. This is the end of the Red Line. The Purple Line continues on up to Linden and Evanston, and it's also the start of the Yellow Line, which runs up an old North Shore right-of-way to Skokie. Here comes a Yellow Line train in from Skokie right now. Presently it's third rail all the way, but at one time they had overhead wire from the old North Shore catenary system, and they switched from catenary to third rail depending on the direction. Purple Line train for Linden will continue a short distance, about 4 or 5 stops. to downtown Evanston. The line up to Linden is interesting. It's 2 tracks and there are some railroad crossings on it. Ah, there's a Metro North Line train over there. That parallels the Purple Line up to Linden. Well, it's almost 7 p.m. and I think you've got to see a good cross-section of CTA operations on their elevated loop structures, expressway medians, underground, and on a 4-track main line. It's one of the best systems.